I had quite strong feelings as to what I wanted to do with the business, and Dad didn't share those. So I think because I was younger, much more naive, became frustrated because in my head it was super simple. Like, we'd just change these 5 things and everything would be great. And I didn't really appreciate how difficult it would be for him to just get on board with that. And I think very quickly we realised, for the sake of the business, it didn't matter who was in charge, but it just needed to be one.
Right, welcome to the Plannex Podcast. Today we have our friends, Jo and Alfie from Emery Little. Hi, guys.
Hello.
How are we doing?
Okay, can we quickly talk about Rohan's trip to the shop there? So what happened?
What happened? What? No, it's more about the order that was put in. Okay. So when I'm leaving, I say the coffees or whatever else. Yeah. And Alfie, by the way, looks in the best shape of his life, best shape I've ever seen him. Just goes, "Can I have a sweet?" Well, what do you mean? I don't know what that means. Like, it's like, just like a cake or something. So Alfie just smashed an almond croissant. So that's the secret. There you go.
You weren't expecting that, were you?
Looking that good.
You thought he was going to say protein shake, didn't you?
Yeah.
Right. So hi guys. You okay? We are in London, and yeah, good to have you. So we were talking off air. So I think I interviewed you guys in 2018.
Yeah, 17, 18.
17, 18. Wow, that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
And the band's still together.
Yeah,
still together. Wow.
Yeah,
very much so.
So for anyone who hasn't heard of you guys, do you want to give a quick background, either of you? Jo, let's go with you.
Yep, I'm Jo, CEO of Emery Little, third generation financial planning company, originally founded by my granddad in 1973, maybe 1974. And we're now based in London, having been in Hertfordshire for the past 15 or so years. So that was quite a big change for us, but very excited now. And selfishly, it's because I live in London also. So.
CEO power.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the last office was a 7-minute commute for my dad. So I think, it's not quite as good for me now, but it's getting closer.
So Jo, Alfie, you're not part of the family.
Nope.
How long have you been at the firm?
So I think it was last month. I'd been there 18 years.
Yeah.
Wow. So I joined when I was 19. So I just dropped out. Did A levels. Didn't do very well. Started to get into things that aren't particularly helpful for you to progress with your career at that point. But I just didn't make uni. And I think I'm actually quite proud. I think I got, my mum was desperate to get me a job. So I opened up a paper and found an administrator role at IFA around the corner from where I lived. So I think I was at the back end of getting jobs in papers, I think. And then I went in and just, treated it as a job that paid for me to just drink at the weekend and play football and enjoy myself. And it took a good few years for me to start to sort of take it seriously and go, hang on a second, there might be something here. I was actually lucky enough. I think I sat in on a meeting with Andy, Joe's dad, and saw him. I just thought it was like moving money around or sort of doing calcs or whatever, like boring. But then I saw him have a conversation with a client where he enlightened them and sort of showed them the power of what money can do for them. And I was like, oh shit, this is not what I thought it was. And then I was like, how do I do that? What's all that about? And he's like, well, you need to start to take these exams. You need to start to think like this, act like this, do these things, be involved in meetings. And then a power planner left, and I was like, let me take that job. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what it is. I didn't know what ICE was. I was just processing stuff in the background, phoning up evaluations. But I was like, just let me take their job. And yeah, managed to kind of, some say worm my way through. I would say work my way through. And then obviously we kind of left at some point in 2017, 18, or sort of tried to sort of do our own thing, which was, a happy disaster.
We're going to talk about that because good story. Jo, what about you? When did you start in the firm?
I mean, unofficially, I have been working at Emery Little since I was a child. So I don't know if you remember investment reps coming around with huge brochures, and at the back you had the opportunity to stamp your company stamp. So I used to do that for my dad. Brilliant. In the back room of our house where he started his arm of the business. And then from then, basically every school holidays, I would help out, and then same when I went to uni. So whilst you were at paraplanning or in a paraplanning role, I would work over Christmas holidays, summer holidays, but we never really interacted because I think it was very much a means to an end, probably for him and I. So it wasn't until 2010 when I graduated. So it was just after the financial crisis. I did my degree in industrial economics. I wanted to get a graduate job in finance. Obviously, graduate placements at that time were few and far between. So I remember my dad giving me a call whilst I was at uni to say, hey, would you be interested in joining Emery Little? Make it a minimum of 2 years, make it worth your while, our while, do a couple of exams, see how you get on, and then you can go off, spread your wings, do your own thing. And I was like, okay, great, because I had a bit of a chip on my shoulder about not wanting to join the family business. So I thought this is like the perfect compromise. And that was, 15 years ago now, and I haven't left.
And today you are CEO of the family business.
Correct. Yeah, mental.
Okay.
Crazy. Cool. Okay, so where should we jump in here? Where do you want to
We've
jump
got
in?
a lot to go
We have
through.
got a lot to go
Mm.
through.
So let's talk about you guys starting in the firm. So they're like a pop band, by the way, these two. It's like Jo and Alfie. You've been together for years, haven't you? Like, honestly.
Denk.
So what was it like? Obviously, you weren't part of the family. You obviously were part of the family. What was it like working in that firm? Like, because you basically, you are running the firm now. Like, did people respect you from day one, or did you feel like you earned your stripes?
Good question. I think, it might be different for you, but when we took over the business particularly, it was a very difficult time for the business. You know, there were, again, this is just the reality of it. You know, Andy, Joe's dad, that's a complicated dynamic for anyone, right? You're working with your dad for your dad, and then the opportunity, you know, the business was okay, doing fine, but kind of heading in a direction, or certainly not fulfilling the potential that we could see. And I don't think I ever respected Andy enough for this at the time, but certainly do now. Hadn't really appreciated how amazing a business he'd created on his own through just pure hard work and like dedication and love for it. So where I'm going with that is that when we were to take over, it was getting messy. It wasn't easy. It was, you know, it was a look, if this doesn't happen, then we're out kind of deal. So actually then when we sort of started and came in and we started to, you know, try and fix all the things that we sort of felt needed doing and where we wanted to take it, it felt like we couldn't do any wrong at that point. So actually it was that actual transition was pretty straightforward from me. It was like, oh, this is already better and we're doing things that are getting better, and we got rid of people that weren't right and we changed systems that weren't right. And so everyone was like, oh, this is great. It was just after that where we started to, where we screwed it up a bit.
So we'll unpick that. We'll unpick that. We've got loads to go through. How did that conversation start? So obviously you're running the business full time, you guys now.
Yeah.
So your dad's out.
Mm-hmm. We
Was
still
it-
owe him a lot of money.
Yeah. Was it?
Like, let's not gossip on that. But yes.
Yeah. Don't screw it up too much. Was it you guys that went to him and said, "Look, we're ready," or was it him that came to you?
A combination of the two. I don't think it was as intentional as that. So the expectation was that I would take over the company at some point. So I became a director, I think, in 2016, 2017. And I think what happened was, as I stepped into that leadership role, had a little bit more say in how things could go, the journey that we were taking, the direction of travel. That's when Dad and I maybe started having a slightly different perspective as to what we could do with the business. And because of that tension...
And was the tension?
Yes, in that I had quite strong feelings as to what I wanted to do with the business, and Dad didn't share those. So I think because I was younger, much more naive, became frustrated because in my head, it was super simple. Like, we just change these 5 things and everything would be great. And I didn't really appreciate how difficult it would be for him to just get on board with that. And I think very quickly we realized, for the sake of the business, it didn't matter who was in charge, but it just needed to be one. So actually, if he continued the business, no doubt it would have continued to grow and do really well. hopefully similar with me, but we couldn't both kind of stay in that leadership role. And that might not be the case for other parent-child dynamics, but it certainly was for us. And I think what was very difficult is kind of at home, so I'm the eldest of three, always been like really well behaved, really obedient, disciplined.
I don't believe that.
And so when that wasn't necessarily his or my experience in the workplace, that was a whole new thing that we had to then navigate, because that wasn't the dad-daughter relationship we had at home. So lots of things to unpick there. And we worked with loads of coaches primarily, or, you know, external people to help us navigate through this time. And I'm pretty sure we were like all of their Everests, because they just could not crack us for like years until, you know, we just decided it's got to be one of us. It doesn't matter who it is. And I think we had a conversation on the Friday to say exactly that. It's got to be, you know, if you want to continue the company, no problem at all. But then I'm going to take a step back, do something else. And so on that Friday, Dad said, I'm not ready to move on from the company. And I was like, fine, great, we've got that clarity. And then on the Monday, he was like, I've changed my mind. So I don't know what happened. I assume my mum spoke to him.
I'd love to know that.
Yeah, so, you know, we got to where we had always intended to get to, but probably in his mind and my mind, to be fair, like 5 or 10 years earlier. So I think that's why it was probably hard. Whereas, you know, if maybe I was less difficult, it would have been a smoother transition.
So when you said before, you thought there's these 5 simple things I need to sort, and then that's it, the business is done.
Yeah.
What were those 5 things?
So change/overhaul our investment philosophy, increase our fees by 33% from 0.75 to 1% ongoing. Something around people, just making sure that everyone is aligned with our values and our culture. I think our financial planning team at that time needed a bit of an overhaul. What else was there? I mean, long term would have been location, but I don't think we had really talked about it at that point. And not necessarily to change location, but to at least add another location. You know, thinking about the clients that we wanted to serve and the talent we wanted to attract for the team. And what was?
So basically the whole business.
Yeah, basically that.
Yeah, of course.
Quite a big
Yeah.
It was the clients. Like Andy had
That's
a bit of an
right.
ethos where he was like, you know, we can be all things to all people. He would, and again, it was a brilliant drive, and you know, he got to a great place with it. But he would see 7 or 8 clients a day. He would then see them the same amount the next day, and then after that, like, he'd just go on forever, and we'd be doing too much for too many people. And then obviously the impact for me is like more in the back office at that point was we were doing too much to too many people, like over promising, under delivering. It's just like a shit place to be when you're at work, isn't it? So we needed to kind of like, no, this is what we're good at, this is who we work through, and we needed to disengage with, you know, unprofitable clients, to be frank. Not that that was nice, and that was something that Andy really struggled with, wasn't it? So I think the transition difficulty was that Andy was like, yeah, Joe, you're in charge and you can run the business, but you can't change these things.
Yeah.
And you just drew a red line around all those 5 things that we just mentioned and say, well, then that's not really, you know. But which now, again, on reflection, I just have more understanding from his perspective how hard that would have been.
As a business leader.
Yeah, as a business leader, as someone who, and as someone, he was a great technician, right? I don't think he ever wished to, and lots of people probably like this, like to be a business leader, but an owner, which is what he is. But he wanted to see clients. He loved that bit. It's just so his love for that ended up creating a successful business that someone had to run, and you can see how hard that would be to let go of that when that's so intertwined with the client work as well. So, yeah, again, I wish I had been a bit maybe kinder with my approach during that transition period, because, you know, I was just angry and thought it's being unfair and it's unreasonable. Whereas now I'm a bit more like, yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of moving from that position of maybe feeling a bit entitled, of being like, no, we absolutely should do this. Whereas now we're like, oh, what a privilege that we have this amazing business and these clients to actually make those changes with, because starting from scratch is, I don't think, either of our strong points. And so, yeah, actually being able to have that opportunity, I think we're just looking at it through a totally different lens now. Whereas at the time when you're kind of in it, you're like, oh, why can't I just do what I want?
So starting from scratch probably feels like a good time to jump into something else that you two did, wasn't it? So was it about 2013?
It was later than that. It was
later than that.
2016. I think it was like November 2016 when we had this, like, the moment when we met the guy who introduced it all. Like, do we actually go into it?
Yeah.
I mean,
let's talk about it.
so we were at an Octopus BCT seminar, like a lunchtime thing, and there was this, really tall and he's devilishly handsome. Joe and I used to joke about who fancied him more as a heterosexual male. And I was just a bit confused, but he was just a bit of a dreamboat, and he was a venture capitalist at VT, one of the main, venture capitalist at Octopus is one of the main guys, and he just told us the story about two young founders who'd created SwiftKey, which was like kind of a technology for your phone that helps you text, which I think is now kind of embedded in smart texting and the way that you can kind of quickly move around your phone now, and how the two founders were like 25, which was similar age to us at the time, and they just sold their business to Microsoft for like 100 million. We were just like, I just remember that moment. I just like looked at Joe and we were just like, I wonder who's there. At this point we were just starting to advise, or starting to get good at it, I think, and starting to back ourselves, and we were like, I wonder who their financial advisor is, because there's not many people that are our age who were seeing clients like we were at that time. Surely they'd want to work with us, right? We spoke to Luke as it was at the end of that lunch, and he was like, I can introduce you to those guys and some other people. And he was true to his word. He introduced us to so many different young tech entrepreneurs that had sold or floated their business, and we learned an awful lot. We tell the story a lot. We sat in front of a billionaire who we would all know, and we were pretty nervous, and he just come into the room and he was just like, who the hell are you two, and what are you doing in my diary? And my life just, and I just everything just stuck out with my notes. And I was like that.
Like that?
He literally was just like, who the fuck are you two? What are you doing here? Like, he just come in, he was just like, his PA had obviously set up, and he was just sat down like this and was like, who are you two? What are you doing here? I mean, I'll tell you off air who he is. I don't know how you managed, because I was probably a bit more brash at that time, confident in. I was like, I'm going to ask the questions. So I just fucking shrunk, and Joe just asked, just went like that. I just like my inside just died. I was like, get me out of here. And then Joe stepped up and asked the questions, and actually it was
So I sat down with you two in a co-working space because we went through this. I used to deal with tech entrepreneurs.
Exactly. Yeah,
I have no idea how you messed this up.
Yeah.
Like you were passionate. You had a niche.
Yeah.
Like, I think what was the issue?
The issue was, I think we were like, right, we're good at what we do. Work clients like us, like that. We felt that. I was confident with that, and I just thought, well, we'll just rock up in like, we'll go into East London in Old Street, and we'll just rock up, and people will flock to us. It'd be like easy. I genuinely thought that. I remember thinking like, right, well, my first 10 grand, I'll spend it on this. Like, I feel like it was like, oh no, you can't. That's not how it works. There's a whole different dynamic and side to running a business, starting a business.
Selling.
But selling was the big thing.
Sales.
Yeah, just sales. I remember, I think it might have been you or someone Jason. What's Jason's name?
Jason Butler.
Jason Butler. He was like, so what's your content marketing strategy? And I was thinking, I was like, and I was like Googling what content marketing.
Yeah.
You're like just miles off it again, just super naive, full of, life and excitement and belief, but not really a clue.
So my assumption is that I think if you went back now and did that, I think it would be a massive success. Because I've honestly thought about this, that I didn't really know it was a failure, but I've honestly thought, like, when we sat down, I think these two are going to smash it. But I think it was me that talked about content marketing because I was big on it at the time.
Yeah.
And I thought you were going to smash it. But I think that what I see now from you guys, we could talk about in a minute, but you've kind of learned how to market the business. You've kind of learned how to sell. You're definitely more confident with what you're doing. I think it was probably just a timing thing.
I think so. The timing, maturity, just an opportunity to
Skills.
learn. I think if we'd have carried it on, it would have made.
Any
we would have
regrets?
got there, yeah. No, not really. I made a slight regret of like not carrying it on, but not really, because the opportunity was, as we got to, it was like, well, actually, if we are able to, take Emery Little on and embed the two, we kind of felt like actually Emery Little was 20 years ahead of where Ela was, and so it felt like a better place to start from. And so, I'd like to have seen where we would have got to it, but I never would have chosen that option, even now, like at any point, because of the opportunity that was there to kind of merge them into two, if you like. So, I don't know.
And like, there's still opportunity now, as I'm sure we'll get into, to practice some of those selling skills, because we still need to grow the business. We need to significantly increase the number of new clients that we get because we've got some, punchy aspirations. So I don't think it's the case of actually learning a lot through ELA and then not being able to.
What was the biggest thing that you both learned through that process?
Yeah, good question. I think for me it was the all-in nature of it. The sleepless nights, the 24/7 tapped in. The how all-consuming it was, and then how also people go, "Cool, man, you got your own business." Like the people see the little snippets.
So you'd
of it
actually
and
set up a
praise you.
separate business, hadn't you?
Yeah.
You were
We
properly
launched-
doing it.
We launched it in 2017, and I think closed it in 2020. So and it was at the point where we just started to get clients coming through, and so those clients are still clients now of Emery Little that have come across. Like, it was starting to work, but I hadn't appreciated just how hard it would be. And often people came to me during that period and since and say, like, I'm thinking of leaving my firm and starting up on my own. Do you have any advice for me? And I'm also like, yeah, don't do it. Starting point, don't do it. Like, unless you are genuinely a maverick, like, or someone, like the Fanova guy, Scott Miller, like, you could tell that he's got something special. I don't know the other two so well, but when I see him meet Scott, you're like, hey, this guy's special. He's going to do well at that. And I genuinely think unless you're at that particular level, like an Andy Hart or these other guys, Sam Sloan, that you guys just had.
I mean, which idiot would set up a business from scratch?
I know, right?
Yeah.
Multiple times.
Yeah, but you know how hard it is, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So my view is like actually trying to find a firm where you can, you fit the culture, where there's an opportunity for you to grow, prosper, become part of the leadership team, or eventually own that. I'll be like, exhaust that option first. Is my advice generally, unless you're a special starter, which I thought I was, but like wasn't. So that's cool.
Very interesting.
Growing an advice firm today isn't just about winning new clients. It's about building the infrastructure to support sustainable, profitable growth. Iris provides integrated technology designed for UK financial advisors, helping you streamline operations, improve reporting, enhance compliance oversight, and free up advisor capacity. With the right systems in place, you can scale without adding unnecessary complexity or cost. If you're serious about building a more efficient, future-ready advice business, visit iris.com to learn more.
Okay, so Emery Little now, you've got a bit of a niche, haven't you? Like this is quite a specific company that you work with and way that you market yourselves now. So do you want to talk to us a little bit about that and how that came around and where that's going?
Yes, we have to be very careful with the language. We don't work with, but we do, because there is no
specialise in.
We specialise in BP employees and BP retirees. So BP as in the company BP. And so one of the things that I think, apart from that super niche, is lots of financial planners work with business owners. And actually that's not our bag at all. Yeah. We're very much in that employed space. So already that kind of sets us apart. And it's something we inherited. So my dad originally worked for one of the national advice companies and then set up on his own, brought clients along with him because he used to be connected in some way to the BP pension scheme. So just had that huge wealth of technical knowledge of how their pension work, their remuneration package, all of that stuff, and was able to then kind of scale that knowledge to his whole client bank. And because his clients are really happy with him, a huge amount of referrals. And, before I think he knew it, like over 90% of his clients just came from this one specific company. And by the time we took over, I think because we didn't necessarily have the capacity to take on as much clients at that time, we sort of put a bit of a hold, didn't we, on taking on new clients, which maybe if we had our time again, I might not have done. But I think that also gave us a bit of time to really work in the business, sorting out efficiencies, processes, the team, so that we were ready to take on new clients. So now we've opened the gates a little bit more and kind of going back to that niche and seeing what opportunities there.
So that's niche, isn't it?
Yeah.
So do you go to bed reading BP share schemes and stuff like that? Do you know this stuff inside out?
Yeah, so I think I do now. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I've kind of started writing a piece called BP Insights, like so every other week. I'm just like writing something that is like actually based on my experiences with clients, really, like trying to just sort of case studies or just try and pick out things that we've learned or that we're seeing, so that if someone else at BP reads that, goes, that's actually about me. So it's that niche, that being really specific. Again, even more so being like the sort of senior group leaders. I've just started to get more clear on like the language they use. They don't call themselves executives, they're called senior group leaders, like little things like that. The VP, SVP, started to just try to map out who's who and who's where and who works for who, and yeah, basically to your point, just trying to get myself to understand all the share schemes. Like there's a lot of share schemes and they're quite complicated, and you can read it 10 times and go, I'm not really sure what that means still. So trying to get to a place where we're able to inform and help and support to really, so that not actually, I really enjoy and like working with people. We've learned a lot from BP as a company, but also from our clients and their employees. It's a remarkable firm, even though they get some bad press or whatever. Like, all I've seen is remarkable, incredible people doing really, really cool stuff who have helped us and keep us on our toes as well. Because you believe that.
So you made a point there of saying there's no official partnership. So it's interesting. So you're just basically well known within the employees, and you get passed around the employees. And what's the main trigger? What usually is the trigger for someone to say you need to go and speak to Emery Little?
Usually change in circumstances, so redundancy, retirement primarily. But it's amazing. I think this year or maybe last year we had a new inquiry call up and say, I attended an Emery Little seminar about 15 years ago. Do you guys still work with BP? And I'm like,
No,
I think it was long. It was like 25 years ago, and it was like, and I saw Andy speak. And I think that he said I just joined BP then, and then he just retired as like someone very senior. And yeah, and it's like these are successful people that have done really well, but it's also quite, I suppose, surprising that they often they'll have cash and BP shares.
Yeah,
and that's it. Yeah, and you're like, right, so like enough for them to live if they making the right choices, but it's quite it does sort of demonstrate that there is probably not the right, like, whether it's education or support, like to sort of avoid that happening, because that's kind of risks on the opposite end of the spectrum.
So,
right?
so you guys are 400 million AUM.
Yeah, as of yesterday.
As of yesterday.
It's gone down today, but it happened. It was like 60 grand over we were or something.
His diet's gone to shit. And what percentage would you say of those are BP employees or ex-BP employees?
Yeah, I think it's about 90%. Certainly, I think it's 90% who were BP employees, ex-employees, or were introduced to us by one of those two. Right. So there might be a couple of
So this is something that's quite interesting, actually. So people, I've worked with a lot of firms who are terrified of niching, right? Because they think it puts everyone else off.
Yeah.
Is that something you find? Has anybody ever come to you and say, I don't know if you guys would deal with me as well. I know you do a lot of BP stuff. Like, does it put people off, or is it just people are buying the people and they like the cut of your jib? Like, how has that affected other business you do outside of BP?
Yeah, I don't think, I get the fear around it, and I have those. Even still now, I'm a bit like, we too niche, we alienating too many people. But yeah, we're not attracting, I don't think, enough clients for the capacity that we have, so we're able to take on more at the minute. But I think, to answer your question, we've taken on a business owner this year. We've taken someone specifically said, I hope you don't just work with BP. People, they were introduced to us by our accountant, and they'd sort of seen the website and gone, I hope you don't just work with BP. I'd like to have a conversation. So yeah, I think to your point, it is brave and it is scary, and you are saying no to people, but you also don't, we've done things like being clear about who we work with and the style and, the sort of asset base and stuff. So I think we're finding we're getting more of those, certainly this year, coming in, because people are self-selecting before they have a 3-hour conversation with you, and not that it's a waste of time, but like it could be that, right? So
when you look at marketing strategy and plan and all that sort of stuff, I know you've been working on that recently. Is it BP? Are you all in BP? Is that what you're thinking? It's like a blue ocean?
Yeah, basically. So it's interesting because we've also had our own journey with marketing strategy, because even though we have been working in this BP niche essentially for the last 25 years, when we last reviewed our marketing strategy more formally a few years ago, we were still really scared of doubling down. We were like, actually, is it too risky? It sort of feels weird to be communicating to the outside world that you only really work with this one type of person, even though in reality we don't want to, and trying to have our cake and eat it. And what you then find is you aren't really attracting anyone, or certainly your communication doesn't speak to someone who reads it and says, oh, that's me. Because if you're saying we work with individuals, couples and families, like, oh, well, that's kind of everyone, right?
Yeah.
So I think more recently, in the past year or so, we have just decided to bite the bullet and say, let's keep our marketing and communication super niche, see what happens, and if it's not successful, you can always pivot at some point, right?
You can, yeah. You can. Okay. So let's learn a bit more about the business itself. Where's the team at now in terms of numbers and things like that? And where's it going to?
So there's 19 of us now, but at the beginning of 2024,
Yep.
there was 25. We've actually gone from 25 to 19, and for a variety of reasons, we aren't actually looking to go back up to 25 anytime soon, or maybe go up to 20. I think we've got some wiggle room for an extra person, and a big part of that is the transformation in IT, AI, focus on systems, processes, just being much more efficient, much more lean firm. And I think we're probably as surprised as anyone that as soon as we lose someone, you don't then just go out and recruit immediately, because that's what we've always done. You know, you create a gap in the team or the business, you think, right, we need someone else to immediately replace that person. And that just hasn't been our experience.
Was that a mindset shift that happened to you guys at some point?
By accident,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, because the easiest thing to do is just keep hiring. Like, I know you guys have been through this capacity issue. I think you obviously, Alfie talked about the the unprofitable clients. You've probably been through that phase, but it's like everyone in our sector seems to want to plug a gap with, well, I'll just go and hire that person. But it's really difficult to find the right people, isn't it?
It's really hard. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and you kind of need constant managing, and you say like, oh, this is our culture, but this is a bit of a nonsense, because the culture is just how everyone behaves all the time. And it's only really today that counts, right? Yesterday's done and tomorrow ain't here yet. So it's just how you're behaving on a day-to-day basis. So trying to manage 19 people through that.
Did it really surprise you? So, I mean, I'll be really honest. I found it very difficult managing. Like, I managed the same amount of people, and like, you read all these books, you listen to all these business coaches, you kind of get a feel of what it's going to be like, and then you're doing it, and it's completely different. Did the same happen to you?
I don't know if the same happened to us, but I definitely felt, probably unintentionally, that the number of people that we had in the team was a sign of success, or how big the business was. I guess it's a bit of an egotistical measure of the company. It's like, oh, tell me about Emery Little. We've got 25 people.
Yeah.
And so I think thinking about things differently has been a mind shift change for us. And actually a big part of that was working with, being on the board of Plannex and Next Gen Planners, just thinking about that slightly differently, like trying to keep it lean, trying to be really specific about how people are contributing to the business, rather than just, there's a capacity issue, let's just throw another person at it. So, yeah, what do you say?
Yeah, because often people, us included, aren't focusing on our highest point of contribution. Yeah, we're still doing things that aren't, don't even fit in the category of like what you love and what you're great at. We're all doing that, right, all the time. And if you look through the business, it's like, if you actually take the time to sit with someone and work out what they're doing, you're like, half of it they could be doing differently, and the other half they don't need to do, but they're just doing that because they've always done it, and you can't try and retrain that or get that to sort of go through that sort of level of work to really unpick all of that all the time, because that would be all you do. And you do need to do it a lot to make sure that what I think where we've got to now, we've been able to be like, actually losing 6 people in 18 months could destroy businesses, but for us, for different reasons, I think it's put us in a better place because we have been intentional about, okay, well, let's just not think about, as Joe said, replacing that with the person. It's like, what were they doing? What did they not need to do? Just respect, because like everyone's working hard and doing their best, no doubt about it. But we all get stuck into doing things that we shouldn't or aren't actually helpful. But what do they say? You do an hour's worth of work, 10 minutes is the work, and 50 minutes is the workaround. It's like, because you haven't bothered to set up a new process or think about it differently, or not bothered. have the time, the inclination, or even the thought process to do it.
How do you? So I'm really interested in this because I think we work really well. Like,
Yeah.
and you were yin yang, we're
But
completely
that's
different.
a bit different.
Yeah, completely different. How does the dynamic work between you guys?
I mean, we're similarly very different. So there aren't very many times where we would step on each other's toes. And I think our roles are constantly changing. So trying to navigate that can sometimes be a bit, not tricky, but we have to be intentional about it. So we're going through a specific transition period at this point where we are going to be much more sales and marketing focused, and that's going to be your, area of specialism going forwards. My role constantly changes depending on what the business needs, and therefore, for me, it's trying to let go of this is my job description. This is something that I can go back to time and time again, because that, as soon as I write that down, like 6 months later, it's different. So.
But do you share the burden, or is it basically all on you?
Oh no, we 100% share the burden, like emotionally.
Yeah,
I would say.
Yeah, that's it. I think it's the emotional sharing of it. Like, we're quite good at sticking to roles, and there's things that both of us are good at and not good at, and that works well. I think that the sort of the baseline of where it works from, maybe same with you guys, is like we're just like really good mates. And just thoroughly enjoy being in Joe's company.
I wouldn't go that far.
I mean, a lot. Like, I can be the worst version of myself and know that Joe don't really care and gonna hold it to you. We can have a laugh. We can be silly. Like, Joe's husband is one of my favourite people on this planet, and actually, weirdly, my wife and Joe went to school together. So we're kind of like,
She
so
was
we're
my
friends.
first
First friend
friend
at
at
school.
first
Yeah,
school.
yeah. So
Is that why you got the job in the paper?
yeah, exactly. It's actually not even related. We didn't know that until later on,
That's
weirdly. So I think that's where it comes down to. So when you've got trust, and you've got we like this. So I think some people think that we're just like the same. Yeah, like not. Some even the team think that we never disagree. It's like, no, we always do. We just try not to do it in front of you guys. But we definitely come at it differently. But I do think that the kind of like the all right, pal. That's what we say to each other pretty much every day. I'm like, all right, pal. Like, that's it. That's the starting point of where we're going from. And I think from there, everything else kind of comes. And we both said before many times, and I want to do this on my own.
It's really beneficial having a co-founder.
Yeah.
No, it is.
Yeah.
It is. Like we go through our moments, don't we? And it's usually when you're having a moment, I'm calm. When I'm having a moment, you're like, yeah.
Yeah, just bounce off each other, don't you? Okay.
But,
So
differences.
there's a word you mentioned earlier, culture, right?
Yeah.
And an internal and external. So external culture, I will say, of Emery Little, right, is the Emery Little team are at our conference. Because they're the front of the dance floor always, right? External culture, I think everybody wants to be part of your team. Like, it's great external culture. How did you set that internally? Obviously, when you're taking over from your dad and all that kind of thing. Was there a resetting culture? Is there something that like you strongly believe in, something that really works? Give us some insights on that.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely wanted to reset the culture, kind of put our stamp on things when we took over. So it's not necessarily to say that anything before us was bad, it just wasn't us. And it's funny that you gave that example because we summarize our culture as joyful professional. So there is this big focus on, we spend so much time at work with our colleagues. Let's try and make it as enjoyable, as fun as we can be. And let's not forget, this is work. We work with each other professionally. We have a job to do. We want to do it really well and want to set high standards for ourselves. So I think it's trying to find people that can do both really well, rather than, some people probably lean too much towards kind of the seriousness and the professionalism piece, or too much to the fun without understanding the amount of work that it takes to actually be part of Emery Little. And that's something that we have honed over time. But I think it's very much a combination of our personalities, how we are at work, the types of behaviors that we want to show. So it's not a do as I say rather than as I do. But yeah, that's kind of the main thing. And, what we've learned is every new person that you hire, has the ability to positively add to that culture, because we do want it to change over time. Like, it's not a static thing, and we want difference, and we want, you know, positive contribution. But then sometimes you might find some people who are like, oh, we thought this was going to be a great addition, but for whatever reason kind of robs us up. And I think that's the other thing we've learned. Like, just because you might not fit in with the Emery Little culture there's no right or wrong. It doesn't mean you're a bad person, and it doesn't mean that we're, you know, a bad company. It just means that that isn't a good fit. And I think, you know, being grounded and confident in that reality has been something that's, it's taken me a while to get there as well, because I want to be liked by all people at all times. And that's just not how the world works.
That doesn't go well with CEO.
Yeah.
Right, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be back. Hi listeners, if you work in financial planning and everything, surely it's not just me finding this hard. This is why we built Plannex Connect, a calm, smart community for the financial planning profession. No gurus, no noise, no BS. Just honest conversations, better thinking, and people who get it. It's 15 quid a month with a ridiculous amount of value. Head to plannex.co.uk to find out more information right now.
Welcome back. Okay, so I want to get into some of the personal stuff if I can with you guys. Alfie, we had a conversation just off air before, and you kind of said you had this moment recently where you had to do a presentation to a load of peers, and you'd never been as nervous as anything in your life because you didn't think you had anything to say.
Yeah.
You were like, I feel like a total imposter, like that big imposter syndrome thing. Talk to us about what that feels like, how you overcome it, how you're learning to overcome it. Do you ever? Just talk to us about it generally.
Yeah, it's a weird one, because I think, like people would say, I think I am confident. You know, I am confident. I am quite social and kind of comfortable in those scenarios. And there's like constant fear with it as well. So yeah, as I was like walking down the road and it was like raining to here, and I've got like hood up, and I'm like, maybe I just like won't go. Maybe I'll just fucking turn around and I'll just go. like, you know what I mean? I do, like, that is in me. Like, it's just like, actually, I don't think they won't mind. Joe won't mind. Like, I kind of have, and I'm like, I think I have that like every day when I do like anything that is sort of like social, or certainly when someone is like this, we're like, oh, can I learn from you? And I'm just like, trying to. There's a desire to get out of it. And then I know when I do it now, because I've done it, like I enjoy it, and like as I just said to you in the breakdown, I was like, oh, this is great, let's carry on. So yeah, it's obviously just a confidence issue, and an inherent thing that is, whilst I am quite brash and confident, like there is obviously a battle to kind of, I suppose, to try and enjoy it. And one thing I've realised, also, again, people always label things. I was like, you're an extrovert, aren't you? Like, no, I didn't really get that. But one thing I've really realised more recently is that I really get my energy from my own time. Like, my wife needs to be with people all the time, right? And I thought I was that, but I'm like, no, actually, I need my own space and time, and then that's how I can then come in and kind of be the best version of myself. So, I think it's not like I'm putting on a brave face and pretending. I don't think it's that, but there's definitely more of a subconscious, self-conscious, I suppose, kind of like, am I good enough? Is this good? Am I going to be able to help or know what I'm doing? And does that ever go away? And if it does go away, then do I stop caring, or you know what I mean? So do you need that? Is that like the needle that you need? So like with my desire to not turn up today, is that actually why I am and end up being here as well? Like if I didn't have that, I'd just bowl in and not really care. Like maybe. So I guess it's something that I am just more aware of, and certainly when you get asked to do something by someone and you think, why are you asking me?
I get it. Okay. And Joe, so young female CEO of a financial planning, like big financial planning firm, is pretty much unheard of, right? Within the profession. So tell us a bit about what that journey's been like. Does it feel any different at all? Are there any battles you have? Just talk to us about the general experience of that.
Yeah, it's really hard to know what to say to this type of question, because it's the only experience that I've had, and I have no idea what other challenges, other obstacles, other people in a similar situation might have gone through. And whenever I've come up against an obstacle or a challenge, it's hard to know, is there something to do with my gender, my age, my level of maturity and experience? I don't think I've, apart from, you know, when I was much younger, going to finance or financial planning conferences, and if I was wearing all black, for example, like the number of people who would assume that I was working there instead of like attending. So I just stopped doing that. But apart from that, where I was like, okay, well, that's obviously, you know, not okay. It's hard to know, because actually when looking at my Emery Little experience, so like the internal to the company experience, when I think about my relationship with my dad, like he's always had like huge belief in me. At no point have I felt that he's ever doubted my ability. He's always, you know, been the one to put me outside of my comfort zone or try, you know, to get me to experience those things. And actually, on reflection, I think the main obstacles were more because he wasn't ready to let go and like his own stuff, rather than him saying to me he didn't think I could do it. And when I look at my own experience of that particular time, I never once doubted my ability because I didn't think that women didn't do it or young people didn't do it. I think I'm really lucky to be living in this particular generation where there are more examples, not necessarily in the financial planning industry, which is a shame, but there are far more examples of like women leaders. And I'm very firmly in the camp of, if you can see it, you can believe that you can be it and do it. So I think that is, even though I might not necessarily have felt any particular challenges due to my gender or my age or, you know, life experience, I'm very conscious of wanting to be seen as an example for other people who might consider some of those things as an obstacle.
Which is what you are. So, you know, there is a reason we added you to the board, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Incredibly intelligent. We thought brilliant role model for the profession. You know, there's still barely a young female financial planner I ever come across who doesn't want to be you, basically. So, you know, credit to you in the way that you carried yourself.
But since you got the keys to the company,
Yeah.
there must have been moments where you thought, shit, what am I doing?
Oh yeah, I mean all the time.
Both of you.
Yeah, and just going back to the earlier point, I don't doubt for a second that there are other women, young people, people of colour who do face particular challenges or obstacles because of those characteristics. I'm just super lucky because of my parents and the people that I surround myself with and just the people at Emery Little that I didn't face those. So I think there is something about that, and I still find myself in rooms where it's mainly older, you know, people in their 50s, white, male, and it takes me, I don't know, however many interactions with those people, with that group, before I feel a part of anything. So,
But as a business owner,
as a business
CEO,
owner,
like imposter syndrome is mental, isn't it? I mean, it's like everyone looks from the outside and it's just looks amazing, but inside it's just difficult, isn't it? And no one realizes, I don't think, what you go through, both of you, in terms of running a business. Like there must be difficult moments for you as a CEO.
yes, I mean, definitely. Like even this year, we were saying earlier, you know, we've had a great year financially, and it hasn't necessarily felt full of joy because it hasn't been easy. And so I think there's, you know, part of that. And whenever you find yourself in a situation that you've never faced before and you think, I don't have the skills, experience, knowledge to know what to do with this. And so that can sometimes be a bit.
And what's your thought process? So I'm always like, let's just wing it. You're the same, aren't you? Like, we'll just wing it and see what happens. When you face those difficult moments, how do you both deal with it? Like, do you go, sounds like you go into, you know, I need to spend some time on my own, need to process it, I need to work it out. Are you the same?
I tend to like to hear from as many people first before I decide what I think about something. I'm like very much need information, need different perspectives to my own. I think you act more on gut feel.
Yeah, I have to
Maybe.
change my mind when I realise I'm wrong, and I think I might start more like that. So yeah, I think when you said thought process, that was interesting because actually the process we use is the thinking environment, which is kind of like Becca, who previously worked with us, is now doing loads of great work in that, and she very much influenced that. But that the premise of that is that the quality of anything you do depends on the quality of the thinking that you do first. So we are pretty intentional. Like every time Jo and I meet, which is obviously all day every day, but when we have like a specific hour. Just a one-to-one, it's like 10 minutes each or 15 minutes each of like what do you want to think about and what are your thoughts is the question I would ask, and then for 10 or 15 minutes Jo will just go, and you always think, 10 minutes of just talking, like just without no interruptions, I don't say anything else, it's just 10 minutes talking, and we always go, oh god, run out of time. You always run out of time. You're never like, I've got 2 minutes left, what should I say? It's like so Jo does that, and then I'll go, and then we're like, right, we've got 40, so that could be half an hour of an hour meeting. And you'd think, like, does that waste the time? Is that right? But the amount that you come up with, and the sort of like the issues that you can then deal with, and then the next half an hour that you've got, you just solve it all. It's like it's remarkable that like time to think really does. That actually is a process that we don't just like talk about. That actually use it all day, every day in team interactions as well as our one-to-one. So actually, that process of itself is like pretty powerful, I think.
Tech. What's making a big difference? What are the challenges still with tech? And what are your thoughts on it generally?
So we have just made an unbelievable hire, if I do say so myself.
Shout out to Mandana.
Shout out to Mandana.
I've met Mandana.
Yeah, so she is our CRM systems manager. And that is her role because we had no idea what to title that role. And her role is essentially to help us use our tech stack much more efficiently than we would have been able to without someone with that actual technical knowledge. And the way we've thought about it, so we've gone all in with Microsoft 365. Is it Microsoft 365? Is that what it's called? So our back office system is Wealthcraft. We use SharePoint as our document storage system. We're on Outlook, all of those things. And if you look at some of those things in isolation, so you'd probably say that Outlook isn't your best email manager. God, all of these key terms are, not my forte, obviously.
I'm sure that you could have done this job.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, every little piece of tech probably isn't best in class in isolation. And we've gone for them, including Teams versus Zoom. But we've gone for them because they all can speak to each other. They're all built on the same system. And that in and of itself has then allowed us to maybe be much more efficient and use the technology we have in a slightly different way than individual bits that might work really well in their particular area, but then they don't talk to anything else. And therefore, it just doesn't necessarily work. I'm not sure I'm explaining that very well, but...
No, I think the controversial one with the team was like, right, no longer using Zoom, we're using Teams. Everyone's like, well, Zoom's way better than Teams is shit. And I'm like, that's true, that's fine. But we're using Teams because you can then use Copilot. Copilot's not as good as Claude or as whatever, we know. But you can, from there, you press one button and now we've got like this bot that you just press the client's name. So you type the client's name in the bot and then it just does the file note for you, like in the format. And then you just put it across. So even like before when we were using Copilot earlier on this year, we were asking it to kind of say, well, what was discussed about this? And then you would copy and paste that into the file, into that section of the file note. Whereas now it's just, it just makes the file note. So we're just constantly, it's taking away steps and clicks, and same with reports. So it's like, okay, the client said they want to withdraw 50K from their ISA. Cool, suitability report done, because it's just like whips around and sort of works its way through. So it's accepting,
Yeah.
So that's
also, shout out to Marcus for building our bots.
Shout out to Marcus, not just for the bots, but for actually changing our mindset around tech. When he first joined us in 2020, he was like, your systems are chaotic the way you
Marcus
work. Marcus Farnfield, he definitely come in with a natural, and this is what you're doing when you're sort of hiring people, is someone who's got just like they're good at this, but they've got a wing that they're like specialist in. He just loved and cared about making things better, faster, more efficient. And we were like, oh, you can do that? And then we've then now got to a place where actually when we tell other firms or other people that we've gone in on Microsoft and the success we've had with Mandana, they're like, wow, that's amazing. And so it is because Marcus come in, changed the mindset. We've then gone with Microsoft, and then Mandana is like final piece of pulling it all together. I mean, she just happens to be an excellent human being and a great employee, but also her skill set is one that she never heard of a financial planning firm. I don't think, didn't know what we did. And the guy that we reached out to hire her was like, I've never hired for a firm like you before. So it was definitely a first, and definitely the thing I'm kind of like, actually, that's one thing we really nailed in the last.
So her background was building power apps.
Yeah.
And obviously you guys use Wealthcraft.
Yes.
And Wealthcraft is a power app.
Exactly.
Insane hire, really.
Yeah, like, it's definitely smart. So I think a few firms that I've spoken to have actually, they're like, can I speak to Mandana? I'm like, yeah, you can, but just, I swear to God, if you go anywhere, it's going to be trouble. But
So
no, I'm kind of like,
we'll edit this bit out. So should we just edit Mandana?
Yeah.
But I think there's a big thing there, transition from employee to leader there, isn't it? Because it would have been really easy in the employee mentality to say, well, let's use Zoom. Let's use Claude.
Yeah.
And like, but it just doesn't work that way, does it? No. You need to make difficult decisions that not everyone's going to like.
Yeah, and I think maybe this year was the first year that it's felt that we've been much more grounded and confident in making decisions that we know not everyone in the team is going to like. Whereas I think before we would have constantly scrambled to try and make everyone happy, you know, have your cake and eat it. And yeah, I don't know what the change has been. Do you?
I think it is in our communication and in confidence. Like when we first moved to London, so just 2 years ago, and we announced it to the team, we knew it was going to be a bit controversial. A lot of these people had taken a job intentionally just outside of London, still close, but, you know, and we wanted it to obviously be in London because we lived there. We thought that was going to help us on our growth trajectory. And instead of being like, right, these are all the reasons and the things that we think this is the right thing to do, we're going to move to London. It was a bit of a just like, just kind of, you know, brushing under the carpet, but like looking at the floor, just like, we just didn't communicate it very well. We knew it was going to be controversial, so we just kind of probably scared away from it rather than going, right, this is going to be controversial. This is going to have I think there was a fear of kickback, whereas now it's like, no, there's going to be kickback to this. Isn't that great? Like, it means we've got something to work with, or that people are listening, or that this, you know. So I think maybe that.
I think there's something here, which is you were running someone else's business, weren't you? When you first took the keys, it was Andy's business. Like, do you now feel today like it's your business, or are you still fighting that?
I think it feels more like our business today than it ever has done.
Yeah.
Okay. I think so, definitely. Yeah, I would say it's
still work to do.
Oh yeah,
always.
Go on then. Talk to us about. So that's interesting. Your last hire, Mandana? Yeah. So, what are the next hires?
Well, how are you thinking about it?
So we were at 300 million AUM, and we thought we wanted to get to 600 million. This is when we had 25 people. We were like, we want to get to 600 million and see if we can do it with 25 people. Now we've got to 400 yesterday, just with 19. We're like, can we still try and get to 600 with 19?
So how have you structured your teams? I'm really interested in that. So, you know, how are you? Do you work on the pods? Do you work on like the diamond teams, or how do you structure it?
Yes, we do the diamond team. We attempted the diamond team structure and with associate planners, and it worked relatively well at the outset. More so from the consistency of the support team. So the power planners and the admin now just work for the pods rather than before. The work would come in and it would kind of then just be divvied, and then there was not the consistency. The team wouldn't get to know the client so well, and so now the pod structure has meant that you have, as a power planner, you work with that planner and you get to know the client. So that's worked well. But this associate planner world, I don't know if you guys have kind of, through the pod, that's what they do. They have senior, they have like the lead and then the seniors and then the associates.
Correct, yeah.
And I think what we've, like Joel, who's our associate planner, it's like great, but what we've found is that, like, in theory, you're like, cool, you'll just, be in client meetings, and it will, take between sort of 3 to 5 years before you actually see your own clients, but you're going to do this kind of in-between role. Is that actually, for him and others as well, is that that's actually quite a long time. Like, if they're sat in client meetings for a year, just doing nothing but that. Yes, passing the work and being the good go-between between the support team and the planners. But actually, after a year, you're kind of like, okay, I think I know how this works. After 2 years, you've pretty much, the second year, you're like doing what you're basically hosting the meeting. The third year, you're like, I don't really need the planner here. I can do this. So when we were like, we haven't really got the clients yet to sort of to kind of give the associate planner that opportunity to really progress. So we found that to be an interesting kind of journey, sort of like 3 years in now to that kind of pod associate planner structure. Joel is now going to be just a financial planner next year, and we're not necessarily going to replace that associate planner bit because I think it moves quicker. In that example, anyway, it moved quicker than what the growth of the business did. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and I think previously all of the planners were felt pretty strongly that they wanted another person in the meeting with them to do their notes. But again, with Copilot AI teams, we just don't really need that anymore. So it's really more about wanting other people there to collaborate or get another set of eyes on something. And yeah, the associate planner for us didn't necessarily work, or doesn't currently work. But it has meant that everything else is much more streamlined.
How do you see the structure of the business? Like, so if we're here in 2 or 3 years, how many planners do you think you'll have? Do you think it'll be tech enabled? Do you think it'll be AI with each planner? I'm just interested. You must be thinking about this stuff now.
Yeah, so I'm actually going back to your earlier point. What additional hire could we be thinking about? And it's one that's probably much more focused around the client experience, the in-person, when they come to the office. Alfie and I went to the Welcome Conference in New York earlier this year, and it's a hospitality conference hosted by Will Gadara, who used to be off 11 Madison Park, wrote Unreasonable Hospitality.
Yeah,
and
cool.
That's essentially the next evolution of our thinking. How can we make the client experience feel totally bespoke to them, because we're doing really well and have a huge amount of momentum on like the efficiencies in the client servicing team and everything that the clients will feel the output and the outcome of, but don't necessarily need to see the workings of. And so the next is, what little things can we do that we might not be able to scale, but makes a huge impact on the experience that clients have with Emery Little. And so it's like pivoting that way, not necessarily pivoting, just building on what we've had now.
Do you still look after clients?
A few. Yeah.
But mainly you're a full-time CEO now.
Yes, and even the clients that I do work with, so like some of our biggest clients, it's a collaboration with another financial planner. So, most of any of the emails or that kind of type of thing won't necessarily go to me, but I'll be there for the client annual planning meeting. And you're basically in a similar position now, right?
Yeah, I think we've got maybe like 20 or so each that would be still working with. But yeah, I think on the whole, I think what I found with clients, others might notice, is that I see a lot of people say like clients become friends. Clients are, it's more than just a relationship. And I'm not saying that's not true, but just my experience has been actually clients don't sort of care about you as much as you think. They're quite happy as long as they're getting a good service and they trust the person and they have a rapport with that individual. And we were intentional when we set up the planning team, because again, we went from a team, when we took over the business, there was 5 advisors with like 135 years worth of combined experience. And then that all changed and it was just Jo and I, and then Harry Woods, Michael, Marcus. And at one point there was 6 of us who combined had like 15 years of financial planning experience, and like 12 of that was Jo and I, right? And so we didn't know what we were doing then. So that was actually something that I think was kind of quite cool, that actually, that meant that we had to like think about doing things differently. But we believed in the 4 of them and thought, right, these guys are so good, so talented. They're actually so much better than us now. It's actually a bit embarrassing, but that's actually what we wanted, was so that the clients aren't thinking, oh, but I thought I was working with Jo and Alfie. They're like, oh yeah, I want to work with Marcus, thanks. And yes, I think that's to the point of how we've structured that to try and mean that then we can let Jo can be the full-time CEO. I'm trying to grow the business and kind of get the sort of like connections with BP and the like, and because that's a full-time job. Like, it's hard to do those things, and if you're trying to be client-facing as well, it's like you end up doing everything a bit average, and that doesn't feel good, does it?
Yeah.
Want to be financial planning's next big success story? You need more than ambition. You need Xplan. Xplan is the top-rated financial advice software that powers up your practice. It boosts your business and gives your client service some serious liftoff. It's backed by top-rated service and support, all from Iris, the technology partner you can trust. So if you want to get on top, get Xplan. Book your free demo at iris.com today.
Right, so welcome back. Right, we've got one more quick session now, race to the end, but because they've got a board meeting after this. This is amazing. Right, what would you do differently? So, question I asked a previous guest: what irritates you when you look back? Like,
I got something that irritated me that I did 2 weeks ago. So, like, still making mistakes in this bit of back to the the BP content that I've been writing. I had a client case, and I thought, okay, this is an interesting one, different angle or something. And I was like, and I said to them, actually, I think you should do this. So I was like, okay, maybe that I should take that piece of advice, essentially, put it into a piece, and send it out. You know, that would be useful. And so stupidly, I just didn't use the client's name or anything, but I just used their case and their figures, so age and pension number. In my mind, I'm like, well, that's because that's what it was, so that would be relevant. I wouldn't want to make it, didn't think for a second to change it. And I had an email from them saying, hey, look, this has made us feel very exposed and uncomfortable. We're not happy about the way that you used that. And obviously, like, well, initially I'm like, well, they're wrong, how stupid. And then you go, well, maybe not. And then I'm like, oh God, what have I done? You go through that little journey, don't you? And denial to like, oh God. And yeah, obviously I phoned them and was able to just apologise and sort it out. But yeah, it's one of them things. I'm like, I know that I wouldn't have done anything different because I just thought that it was okay and it was right. And it was only when you got called out for it and they said, sorry, I just feel really. I said, I thought it was a great article. And then they go, oh, I could see that it was potentially about our case. Great. Oh, and then there's my numbers in it, and they said that it just dropped like that, and I just went, oh, like, yeah, so sorry. Like, hold my hands up. Like, what can you do apart from apologise? But it's like I can't say, oh no, I didn't mean it. I didn't even think. Like I said that, so I was like, I wish I could say that I'd thought this. It just didn't even come into my mind. So
was that an email that they got as well, or was it on socials?
No, so yeah, it was we sent it out as an email. They were on the mailing list. So we changed it before it then go. We send the email out to the mailing list, and then before it goes out, we were able to change it. So yeah, just that's it's as close to kind of, so that's something literally 2 weeks ago that in the moment was kind of as close to rock bottom as it gets, because my wife was like, she said, you don't know, you've asked me 3 times just in an hour, like what she thinks of that. She's like, that's an indication to her that it's stressing me out, right? I'm very good. I'm like, oh, no, I'm fine, this is all good. But then she's like, you're deeply uncomfortable. So yeah, I think things like that where, like, it's not even like if I'd have sat and thought it through, would I have done something differently? Because I don't think I would. But it's like, how do you stop that or change that? Like, but that's like the punch in the gut. So yeah, if like I'm making mistakes like that still now, then I think that's just totally, like, just shows you that that's just completely normal, and like you just gotta go,
yeah, it is.
So things like that, I think, is just a good recent example. Like, think that little sort of thing through. You think you're being sort of clever and nice, but you just, someone has felt exposed, and that's what terrible, like, for a client you're onboarding, what a terrible thing to make them feel. So yeah, hopefully it's be all right. But
then you'll put that right, won't you?
Yeah, you'd like to think so. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's certainly the way you do it.
And at least they're reading your emails.
That's what I said.
Yes, we have.
That's what I did say. We did say that. Because I did think about saying, I was like, don't worry, no one else is reading this. Don't worry about it. But yeah, no. So yeah, I think that's a big lesson. I mean,
yeah, so we mentioned earlier around moving to London a couple of years ago, and how our communication to the team wasn't that great at that point. So I think one of my biggest regrets is not doing that properly. And because at the time we knew that it wasn't going to be well received, we were like, oh, actually, just come in once a month and we'll see how that goes. And it just hasn't worked, right? Because once a month isn't enough to build the trust with your team members, not just internally, like within each team, but across the business. It's harder to...
What was the reason for that move, just out of interest?
So a few things. One was previously we were kind of in the middle of nowhere. It was harder for clients to get to us, and because we wanted to grow the business quite significantly, we wanted a, I guess, greater pool of clients. And lots of our clients are all over the country, and therefore getting to London is lots easier. Some of them have kids, they can make a day of it. And at that time, because we were still thinking about growing the business, and I guess we still are over the medium to longer term, it's acquiring that talent. It's being able to say, hey, we're a London firm. Hopefully that means we have a greater opportunity, greater number of people that we can pick from in the future. So that was like the primary catalyst. And obviously wouldn't be 100% honest if we didn't say we both live in London, and therefore it's just much more convenient for us as well. And the whole team kind of live basically on that London line that comes into Euston primarily. So that was something that we did compromise on, but I think works well for everyone, is saying we will be within a walking distance from Euston or King's Cross. So it's not like they have to come into London and then get a tube, which we appreciate would have been maybe too big a change.
What have you found hardest in your job, new jobs? I mean, how long you've been doing it now? So in terms of running the company, how far are we in?
Middle of 2020 was when it all got agreed, but early 21 was when it kind
So
of
during
finally
COVID?
So during
Yeah,
COVID,
that's when we did our management buyout.
Yeah.
Okay, wow, interesting times.
I think it has, the hardest thing is obviously, doing that through pandemic. And, you know, I remember two years ago thinking like, I'll never work in an office again. I love working from home. Maybe not about 3 years ago. So I think it's, and I probably said that out loud to people in the team, and then like later on, I'm like, right, everyone's in London too, you know. So, and it's,
that doesn't sound like Alfie.
So I think that's hard. It's like people remember things that you say, with, you know, and they're like, well, I remember you said this. Like, then you're like, did I? I don't remember, but I might have done. But yeah, so I think that like there's so many positives with working with the team and having a great team. You know, I've got my brother, I've got my mate from school there. You know, like there's so many positives to it. And as soon as it isn't positive, it's hard, right? It's like difficult. People have their own stuff going on. You can't expect someone to care and do as much for the business as you do. Like, why? And you still kind of want that. And so it's squaring those things. But I think generally the hardest times are just trying to make everybody in the team happy and make them like us. You know, dealing with those issues. Really, clients kind of having done the work with clients to simplify it, to make sure that we only work with people we want to work with and that we like good as gold, really. And those issues don't really come to it. It's the, you know, it's the team, as good and as great as they are. Those are the sort of challenges and the hard bits, really. Would you say?
Yeah, in the main. And we're now at this next stage of development where we want to grow. And again, like having to learn those selling skills and putting ourselves out there and market in a slightly different way. I think that's
It's crazy that we're having this conversation. You've 400 million. And it's like you've got to go and learn a bunch of new skills.
Yeah,
that is crazy. You're right, actually.
Yeah, one thing I will say is you're both really good for this. You do a lot of training, don't you? You do a lot of, and like you said before, you've just been to that conference in New York.
Yeah.
Like you guys invest in yourselves quite a lot, don't you?
Yeah.
Some of the better investments that you've made.
Yeah, so James Hill is the leadership coach that we work with. Again, this is weird how this works. He was my PE teacher at school. He was also my favourite teacher at school. And he ends up being like this leadership coach and like goes on to like transforming schools. And then I just reached out to him one day and he's like, do you want money or like what? You need to remember. He actually said, do you want some money or something? I was like, no, just kind of like have a conversation and see if we can. And he works with like Brett Davidson and stuff now because we introduced him to him. But like he definitely is brilliant because he like loves us and works really well with us. But he will hold that mirror up in front of you to the point where you're just. I mean, he said to me a few times, he's like, "Sorry, I'm just going to get my violin out." Yeah. So you're like, Jesus, yeah. So someone like that's been good. We've been working with a sales coach more recently, which I would highly recommend. Again, a bit uncomfortable, makes you do things you don't want to do, but that works. Therapists, we both delved into that, which makes you
thinking
cry.
Thinking environment.
Yeah. So yeah, like the course the event we went to in New York was cool because we got to go to New York. But the what we learned there, someone actually came up to Joe and was like, "What is someone from a wealth management firm doing here?" And I actually quite liked that because it was like actually, because we think we're in hospitality, and so that's actually a funny story. He was the founder of Nobu
in London.
In London, and he goes, I don't know if you know my business partner, Robert De Niro, and he was chatting to Joe, and I rocked up, and Joe goes, well, I don't know if you know my business partner, fucking mugging Robert De Niro. I was like, how can I walk into that conversation? What other investments, best investments? That's a good question.
I think certainly in terms of the external people rather than additions to the team.
And the office.
Yeah.
You guys, but you've been to the office.
We haven't actually.
We haven't
To be
actually.
fair, we haven't had an invite.
No.
Yeah,
Which
good
is
point.
quite-
Yeah.
You should come out. Yeah, it's cool. Like we've done it nice. Joe's like good at that sort of thing. So we've got this like cool moss wall with our sign in the middle and shit like that.
Yeah, what do you think you got? What do you think you got right? Come on, I know you're both modest people, but what do you look back on and think we've nailed that?
The whole tech thing, as we mentioned, so far, that seems smart.
Yeah. Early days.
Early days, yeah. I do think the planning team, like the setup that we've given them and the trust that we've given them and in the way that they serve our clients and kind of do it quite easily now means that we're able to now focus on other things.
Yeah. And I think there's something about our relationship. We were really intentional at the outset of like having a boundary between professional and personal relationships. So, even though we spend a lot of time socially, my husband Tom and his wife Miranda was like, don't talk about work. And so again, just being really disciplined about that time to kind of protect it. I think we've done that really well, and
Maybe
that's kind of served us well.
Tom, he's like, stop talking about it, like he'll really jump on us.
Yeah.
Because you can imagine how easy it is because you guys are the same, just like you see each other outside of work and you're like, it'll take long before you
we
back
do.
to work, right?
We go out with our respective other halves as well, don't they? Because they get on quite well. But it just we don't talk about work actually at all.
Just ends in utter chaos.
It just ends in really bad hangovers.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because both of our misses are from the northeast, aren't they? So that's what happens.
Yeah,
we just
and
get dragged into it. It's never to do. It's never us being the ringleaders or anything like that. Yeah.
I think another thing we did well actually at the start is this. We talked about those things that we changed early on, but we had this whole concept of tightening to get good before you expand to get great. And that sort of like.
Did you actually just close the business?
Pretty much, yeah. We just couldn't say we didn't even have a process to on board.
Let's talk about that. So you literally just said we can't take new clients on.
Yeah.
For about 4 years.
Unless in like exceptional circumstances.
Okay, how have we not talked about this? You closed the business for 4 years.
Yeah, we did really. Yeah, because it was just that tightening to get good. Everything that was just a nice shiny thing that we wanted to get to. But until we sorted out the investment proposition, until we got the clients in the appropriate fee structure, until we got all of the right clients who wanted to work with us and we wanted to work with them, until we got all the team in the right places, the right bums in the right seats, like all of that was just a distraction. It was just taking it longer to get those things done. So it was just like, and again, James Hill, the coach, he was like, tighten to get good, tighten to get good.
And was that not scary as shit? Like,
I mean, I think it should have been scarier. We didn't really think about it that much at that point because it felt like the right thing to do. It was essentially just prioritizing our existing clients over new ones and just understanding that we needed to step up for them. Otherwise, that was also a risk to our business. Yeah. But yeah, I think on reflection,
would you do that again?
No.
I don't think we would, no. But how could we?
No, but what I'm saying is, looking back, was that a good decision to do that?
I think so.
I think yes, but probably it was for too long. Like 4 years is too long.
Yeah, I think what I'd have done is made sure that someone was practicing selling and growing the business just some at a time rather than just like completely ignore
Do you feel you've lost time because of that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Like, that's what I'm trying to do at the minute, and that's why I'm working with a sales coach, because it is really, really hard. Like, for sure, trying to grow the business, to find new people to trust you. I just think if a client reaches out to anyone for advice, that's quite a vulnerable thing. That's quite so you're getting people at a kind of a unique moment, and to actually like do more than just wait for that to happen naturally is hard because that moment does feel like a sort of once in their lifetime moment, So maybe I would do it differently, but I don't think we would have done even knowing what we do now for me personally, because I just know that at the time that was part of the reason why we were in that kind of situation, was we just tried to do too many things all the time.
And what's the growth aspirations now?
$1 billion of assets under management, but that's going to take us 5 years plus. But the more immediate goal is to get to 600 mil.
600 mil with the same team, maybe like with 20 people, that's it. So to have essentially gone from 300 to 600 with less people feels like that's a pretty lofty goal, right?
Yeah, and to get to 600 without any inorganic growth.
that's the other thing. Yeah, don't be
I quite like that target in terms of employees. That's quite interesting because that really makes you think about your hires, doesn't it? Really makes you focused on, we're going to add to that number. Like, it has to be, doesn't it? Like,
And also your tech.
Yeah. And we think the team are really motivated by it because they're essentially the ones who will benefit from it. You know, and that's a big part of the reason why we want to do it. We want to be able to reward our existing team and also motivate them. So I think that sort of helped. Whereas if they weren't aligned with our thinking, they'd be like, well, you're making us.
How are you? This is an elephant in the room here. How are you structuring in terms of like remuneration? You say you're going to reward these guys. Is the idea for them to take over the business, all that sort of stuff? Is that in the mind at the moment? But how are you incentivizing them? Is the key question.
Combination of different things. So we've got an EMI scheme in place. So hopefully, you know, engaging them with some of that owner's mindset. And it's really more about as we increase our assets under management, increase our profitability, hopefully, then there is just more to distribute, you know, pay above market wages, bonuses. The succession question is an interesting one because I think we're always looking to like build the next generation of leaders. And so we are.
You're a very young team, aren't you?
Yes. You know, and I really want to think about it now, really, because I think most people leave it too late. You know, even the idea of waiting until I'm ready to leave the business, I think is too late for the business. Like I need to be pushed out, and I need to be pushed out by someone who's like absolutely chomping at the bit and someone that I fundamentally trust and think is capable. And that's going to take a bit of time. But I think having a young team is difficult in that regard because everyone's got their own stuff going on at the moment. You know, they're building families, their priority isn't the business. And yeah, so
sorry, I'm absolutely dying. Nearly died to cough. Yeah, I was waiting for the end of Joe's answer. Please be short.
We're gonna keep that in, by the way.
Yeah.
yeah. What would you say?
Yeah, well, our mission that we like, so Joe said earlier, like our spirit is like one team, joyful, professional. That's like, and our mission is to look, feel, and act like the best financial planning firm in the world, so that our team and our clients get a better deal here than they do anywhere else. Like most of the team can recite that, and that's the driving thing. This is like, look, we're not just trying to grow this so Joe and I can just like make loads of coin and have a lovely time. This is because we want to stay true to that mission, that you get a better deal here than anywhere else in the world. So I think like, and yeah, you know, some people like the team, I believe in that and are working towards that. And if they aren't or don't want to, then that's fine as well. But then it doesn't work, right? So yeah, I think that's the overarching thing that I get excited about. And yeah, I'm doing this. We're paying the sales coach to help me to try and bring new clients in so that we can make more money to make the service better for our clients, but also make the lives better of the team, right? That's actually what gives me joy and gets me up in the morning and makes me actually turn up to work rather than just walking home every day like I internally have that battle.
And turning around again.
Yeah, just like, I actually want to do this today. So yeah, that's kind of how I do it.
Time for difficult questions. Bitcoin, yes or no?
No.
I have no idea.
Okay. So if I come to you and say I've got loads of Bitcoin, what do you reckon?
Well, up until recently, I've always just said it was unregulated, and you know, so how do you know what's? But you know, so then they just, as soon as you explain what unregulated is, they go, okay, don't worry. But they are changing that now, I believe. I haven't really read much on it. Is that right?
Yeah, I think they've changed it.
They've changed it.
Yeah.
We've got a world-class investment proposition that's beautifully simple, that does exactly what it says on the tin, what you need to. This is what fuels your financial plan. If you want any of that other stuff, then we're not probably right for you. That usually gives them the ticket to stay or go, like, or come in or not. Yeah.
I mean, that's our current stance.
Okay, yeah, I guess
but
current
like
stance,
over time, things change, and you know, it's just like we don't know enough to advise on it, so we wouldn't want to.
I've got a difficult question for Joe.
Go on.
Favourite member of the Plannex team?
Oh, terrible question.
Claire, 100% immediately.
Yeah.
No, okay. Best speech.
We should talk about that, shouldn't we?
Yeah, we probably should do a little bit.
Talk about Joe being the chair. How many years?
Oh, Over 5.
Yeah,
Chair of the
we're a
board.
bit different now, aren't we?
Yeah, hugely different. It's exciting though.
Yeah, it's
much
yeah, it's scary,
growing.
isn't it?
You don't do it now, no?
No, since March.
Get a sack.
We
Yeah.
don't really have
Basically.
we don't
Yeah.
really have board meetings anymore.
Oh, right.
Yeah, we all know what we're doing now, don't we? Well, we think we do. Well, we're going to wing it until we work it out,
Yeah.
basically.
Well, I've
Yeah,
had to see about pants.
We'll
That's
figure
what
it
we're
out.
constantly
Yeah,
doing,
yeah.
aren't we?
We'll figure it out. I asked the last guest, I'll ask you, best speaker you've seen at a conference.
What are you going to get? You go.
Well, I was going to go for a speaker from the Welcome Conference, and it's the founder of the Savannah Bananas.
Savannah.
Yeah,
Banana?
that was
What-
mine.
What's
Yeah,
Hold
so
on.
they are a baseball team in the States
right?
called the Savannah. I want to say banana,
But
but
you're saying banana,
it doesn't
yeah.
pronounce as Savannah, so Savannah Banana. And they do a lot on Instagram, and it's about like fans first. And he basically dresses all in yellow with like a yellow top hat, and like he is unbelievably effusive, passionate about his company, about his team, about what they're doing. And yeah, he was like, he got people up on their feet and, you know, dancing and chanting, and most people can't really do that.
Never heard of them, but who's the basketball when they come and do like all the flips and stuff? Like what are they called?
Harlem Globetrotters.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like that,
Right.
But for baseball. Like 50 Cent come out I saw on Instagram a couple of days ago. He was their main act, you know, and they just they play baseball, but it's just like a crazy performance, and they have got he was super impressive. He bowled down the middle of the aisle in a yellow suit, and I'm like, it's the first one.
We haven't got the budget for him. Before.
Yeah, and we were just like, really? But yeah, he was awesome. But then Rory Sutherland was there, and I've seen him at
He's
home and
really
stuff,
good,
and I
yeah.
think he's really good as well. I like the
Yeah.
way that he comes about it. Who else have we seen that's been super impressive?
I mean, the tax guy on Monday was pretty good.
That's a good point, you know.
Tax guy.
Yeah, honestly.
Well, there's the last
we went to
answer.
a
I
budget
thought.
seminar.
Is it Giles Mooney? Was
Giles
his name?
Mooney.
Shout out to him. So our accountants did a budget seminar where a few of our clients went, and a few of theirs Monday morning. And they said, they had this speaker that they haven't done them since before COVID. This was the first one. And they sort of said he's a bit of a maverick and he's a good speaker. But he's an accountant at trade, this guy. And he was brilliant. Very funny.
Take the details.
He's
Giles Mooney.
Giles Mooney,
Yeah.
yeah, really good guy, really, really good. Like, yeah, we'll be using him again for sure.
What's the annoying stuff in the profession that you get irritated by or annoyed by?
Compliance?
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah. That's just, yeah.
Tell us about it, Alfie.
Well, it's not to say that I'm not compliant. It's, I've never been great with like rules and like, oh, you need to do this because of that, and some of the like risk profiles.
Yeah.
Like the fact that people don't understand, or like it's almost like the regulator or some of the compliance isn't able to say that the biggest risk is the risk of low returns, and you get low returns from bonds and cash-like products. Yet,
Yeah.
The way that it is that people could be left in that, because we're like 100% equity all the way. When we make sure clients have more cash than they would, like we manage it well and we think we're doing right, and it is a better outcome for clients. There's no question of it. Of course there is an emotional journey and data, but we're there to help that. So I just can't understand that why do our compliance team, who are really good, still sort of say, oh, you haven't marked this or you've got that. And yeah, and I do think as a team we do sort of fear the compliance side of things, and it is restrictive, and I just don't understand why it doesn't.
It's like school, though, isn't it? You're never going to get 100%. They're going to say, "Well done, Alfie."
Yeah.
On to the next one. There's always some things that they've got to tick wrong.
Yeah, I think if you put in clients' best interests at heart and demonstrate that, which we are, then everything else seems hard. So yeah, I think that is a huge drag for me. And we're lucky that like other people can do, because I would quit if I had to do more of that. Like if I had to be in and amongst, I couldn't do it. Like,
What would you do if you quit? There's a good
A
question.
good question. I've always said that I love writing, so I'd love to write comedy. So I'm a bit of a sucker. Every time I go on holiday, I'm like, I want to live there. I'm going to live there. But when I've been in LA, I'm always like, I would love to be there and to write comedy. Like that would be my dream, to do a sitcom there. So
Coming to a screen near you soon, right?
yeah.
Joe?
What annoys me, I don't know if it annoys me, but I don't think it's very helpful in the profession, is I don't think or believe that there is one right way of doing financial planning, and that includes the investment proposition, ESG, non-ESG.
Everything's black and white.
Yeah, it's like, this is the best thing. If you're not doing this, you're not looking after your clients. I'm like, no, if you're good people, you're doing the best for your clients, you're putting them at the forefront of everything you do. Like, there's multiple ways that you could be serving people and creating great outcomes. And yeah, I think that people need to do less of that sometimes.
Nice.
What would you do if you weren't?
Yeah, if you weren't doing financial planning, what would you do?
I would not be working. What are you talking about?
Joe's really good at doing jack shit. She's really good at it.
When people are like, oh, what am I going to do?
Cut.
What am I going to do in retirement? I'm going to have all of this time on my hands. I'm like, what are you talking about? I've got loads of stuff I could be doing that doesn't include any work. So yeah, I'm confident that
it's mad, isn't it? So I tried to take a day off yesterday, a sneaky one, and I didn't tell him. I'm just so run down at the moment. I was like, I just need a day off. I got to I got to about 10 o'clock and someone rang me and went, oh, can you meet me at 10:30? I was like, yeah, all right then. Then I was like, and then my mate was like, oh, do you want to go for coffee? I was like, yeah, all right then, go on then. And then I spent the rest of the day just on my laptop doing emails. So that was my day off, and I'm like, what a sad knacker.
We're going to get some violin music in the background.
What a sad knacker I've become now. My day off essentially means not doing Zoom meetings or whatever, but just doing emails.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God, it's all out. It's this is the thing. Before we wrap up, actually, I'm always really interested in this because I can't switch off. I think it's a business owner thing. I can't. I go on holiday and I did an all-inclusive thing earlier this year, and honestly, I must have been doing my missus crazy after a few days because I was like itching to do stuff right. How do you guys switch off? And do you switch off?
Yeah, I mean, it takes me a while to switch off, but I'm pretty similar. Even when you're not working, you're thinking about work. So a good example was I ran the Valencia Marathon last year, and my husband Tom, is a keen marathon runner, and he paced me, and about like 5-6K, and I'm like, you know what? There's lots of similarities between training for a marathon and financial planning. And he was like, give it a rest. And I was like, these are all the things. I'm going to write the blog when I get back. And I did.
Thank God you didn't go on LinkedIn.
Yeah, exactly. Because, that's just, I don't know, you're constantly thinking about it. But I reckon after a week of, skiing, actually, that's the best way of switching off quickly, because I'm not a great skier, and therefore I spend most of my time surviving.
Yeah.
And when you're thinking about when you're thinking about surviving and not dying, it's amazing how quickly you stop thinking about work. So yeah.
Yeah, I actually think we're both quite good at it. Like, I do, and certainly when things are going well, then it's easy. It's when there's problems, like when we were in Bali together,
November 23.
23, when this is when, so we didn't say earlier, but when first 2 years of Emery Little, we couldn't do any wrong. We were great. And then like 22, 23, we just, we were like, oh, okay, we're not like, you need to work at this. We're not like, made a load of mistakes and just mainly around communication and the office. And there was a big kind of blow up that someone in the team said, look, I know you guys are on holiday, but I think you just need to see the recording of the team meeting from Monday where everyone was basically pissed off and, indirectly slagging us off. And that was, that was hard, but like most of the rest of the time it's been, things are going well enough that actually it's like, no, I need to go away and have a reset. And it's the thinking about it that doesn't really go away, does it? But I can close my laptop and not look at that, and you're pretty good at that as well, actually, which I do think actually helps, because you do come back a bit fresh in mind and not just stuck in emails all the time. But I don't climb the walls.
Just me then. Still on my quest. Still on my quest.
Right, cheers guys. Amazing insights. You've got a board meeting to go to now.
You do.
But you don't do this very often. So I think we've been
if ever
very lucky to have you guys. I'm so happy that Alfie didn't turn around.
Because
I would have been a bit pissed off.
But that's what kept me here, I promise.
When we got his almond class on.
That's true.
Got his almond class.
Sweet.
Or the compliments. God, it's basically every man that sees you. It is specifically men.
I'm not impressing any women.
Thanks for joining us, and thank you for turning up.
Thank you so
Thanks
much,
for
guys.
having us.
That's great.
Bye.
If you're working towards your professional exams, or you're responsible for developing people in your business, it's worth knowing about Plannex training. Our focus is on helping people prepare properly, with clear structure, practical exam insight, and guidance grounded in real experience. We support individuals and organisations with training that turns knowledge into dependable capability, rather than just more content. You can find out more at plannex.co.uk/training or follow Plannex Training on LinkedIn for ongoing insight.